So here to join us with some thoughts on all of this is author, researcher, investigative journalist Jim Marrs. He's the author of many books, including The $1 Trillion Conspiracy. It's all about zombie banks and much more. He joins us by phone today with his analysis of what has just happened in Virginia and what it means for our future as people try to survive on planet Earth. Jim, welcome to the show today.
Hey, Mike, thank you so much for having me.
It's good to have you on, man.
It's really amazing. It's quite an epiphany for me because, of course, I've been talking about the Bilderbergers for many years now, and particularly in my book, Ruled by Secrecy, which was published in 2000, and, of course, written in the 90s. And back then, when I tried to tell people about Bilderberg, it's like, what? What's that? What?
Yeah.
And then you try to talk to the media, and they're, oh, well, nothing there. Don't look at that. Don't look behind the green curtain, you know. And today, I mean, I think the reason that they had to meet in Chantilly, Virginia, is because last year when they met in Switzerland, the European media was all over them, including even some Swiss politicians who showed up unannounced saying, hey, what are you guys doing in there? You know, they kind of pulling an Alex Jones.
Yeah.
And this year they decided, well, let's get back to America where we can keep a close, tight rein on the media. And, of course, that doesn't include Alex. He's going to go where he wants to go.
Yes, indeed.
Which is great. That's what the milquetoast slamballs who call themselves journalists today, that's what they should be doing. They should be pounding down the door saying, what the heck are you folks doing in there?
Yeah, well, you think about this. If there was any meeting of any other group of professionals, you know, 100 baseball players, 100 actors, 100 scientists from NASA, it would be covered by the media. But for some reason,
they'd go ballistic. I mean,
sure.
Just think about it, Mike. What if all the owners of the National Football League franchises met in a hotel under armed guard for a week, and then came out and wouldn't tell anybody what they talked about? Oh man, they'd be screaming restraint of trade, you know, and just all kinds of stuff. They'd just go nuts. They'd
Sure.
say, you know, this is a monopoly. You know, y'all are. This is terrible. But here you got the people who are actually trying to run the world, and they get a pass.
Yeah. But also, think about this, Jim, too. In not covering this and in denying it, the mainstream dinosaur media has only further discredited itself. Because now every reasonable, rational person that's observing these events can say, wait a minute, this really happened. You know, Infowars has all the footage, all the real-time transmissions and broadcasts, everything. Yeah. This really happened. These people are there. The photographs of these world leaders, supposed leaders, scum that we like to call them here at Infowars, leaving the event. The event is real. It really took place, and the media says it's not real. They won't cover it. How more discredited could they get?
Well, I saw recently where CNN has lost like almost 50% of its listeners, and this is why. Because they are nothing more than just propaganda organs for the corporate state, and people are beginning to realize it. And this is what the good news is, Mike. This is really good news. I mean, we're talking about it. More people are waking up, and there are a lot more of us than there are of them. And this is why they want to reduce the world's population. But if the world's population, even 10 or 20% of us, got wide awake, realized what the game plan was, and simply put our foot down and said, no, we're not going to go with this, then they're out of business, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed out that's the silver lining in all of this. You know, Alex is great at uncovering the truth of what's going on and showing the threat. At the same time, the flip side of what he's doing and what the entire crew here is doing and what people like you and I do and others like us is we also show the power of the individual, the power of telling the truth, the power of speaking out, the power of just showing up. I mean, you know, 80% of the battle is just showing up, right? Look at what Alex did with the bullhorn. He didn't have a firearm on him. He wasn't armed, but he made history with a bullhorn and just the will to just confront the nonsense and assert his constitutional rights right there on the scene. Think about the power that we have as a nation if more people would just be like Alex.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like the old children's story about the emperor's new clothes. All it took was one little boy to say, hey, The emperor hadn't got any clothes on. And everybody went, oh, holy crap, that's right. The emperor doesn't have any clothes on. And that's what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Not ranting and raving, not trying to change everything, just simply saying, look, look what's going on today. It's not right. It's ridiculous. And, we need to all wake up. But it's kind of happening. It really is. I'll give you a good example. I was just seeing a thing here. I know I drive a little Prius. It's a hybrid, okay? And I'm getting pretty good mileage, getting 46 miles a gallon, something like that. And, that's good. But I've seen a thing today where the Volkswagen and other companies, they're making a car with an engine that'll get in excess of 70 miles to the gallon. Well, wow, that's great. So how come we can't get one? Because they won't allow them to be sold in the United States.
Sure.
Okay? Now, wait a minute. Wow, what's this all about?
Scarcity,
the explanation, which seems likely, is that, yes, it's corporate greed, but it's more than that. I know here in Texas, we have one of the best highway systems in the nation, and it's due to the gasoline tax. When you buy a gallon of gasoline for $2.50, or $3.50, however much it is now, probably more than half, maybe three-quarters of that price you're paying for that gallon of gasoline is taxes. And those taxes go to build the highways and maintain the highways. Well, if everybody started driving 70 mile per gallon cars, then that's going to cut their taxes in half.
Right.
And they won't have money to repair the roads. So they say, well, it's an economic issue. Well, so what do you do about that? Okay, it's real simple. If you educate people and people understand that they could have a car that could get 70 miles a gallon and cut their gasoline bills in half, if they truly understood that, then all they got to do is for a significant percentage of the people just say, okay, I'm not going to buy a new car this year until you give me one that'll give me 70 miles a gallon. And what are the car manufacturers going to do? They're going to choke up and say, okay, here's a car that'll get 70 miles an hour. This is how, in a market, a free market, and even in a corporate-run market, that's how you can get something done, because they are greedy and they do look to their bottom line. And if you can affect their bottom line, they will change.
Yeah, but the issue we've got in America today is the government interference with the free market, obviously, the crony capitalism.
There's no free market.
Right, there's no free market. And speaking of the automobile industry, we've got the U.S. government now actually spending taxpayer money to move U.S. automobile manufacturing facilities overseas into places like China, actually gutting the industrial base, gutting the jobs base in America here, and doing it deliberately, and saying that the government is here to save you the whole time, because now you don't have a job, you don't have a house, you don't have health care. Now you're a total government dependent, a total victim, and that's right where they want you.
That's the game plan, Mike, as you well know. It is absolutely incredible, but what they want is everyone totally dependent on the government, and that's why they are pushing this globalist, socialist agenda. People go, oh, socialism, oh, no. Well, people have different views of socialism, and that's just like people have different views of democracy. And socialism, which means public ownership of all the means of production and distribution, that doesn't sound like such a bad thing, really.
It does to me.
Except what everybody loses sight of is on any social program, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, it's going to require central administration.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the key to it, because once they get a global socialist system, and some programs like, say, Medicare or Social Security might be good. Some programs like Obamacare are probably terrible. But regardless of whether good, bad, or indifferent, they require central authority. And these globalists, these people who meet at Bilderberg, they know they have the power and the money to buy up the central administration. And then that's how they achieve one of the oldest goals in the history of the world, which is control of the world.
No, it's incredible. Clearly, a world government is on the agenda, and another agenda, Agenda 21, of course, is world government control of all environment, land, animals, right, resources, things like that. But let me ask you a financial question, Jim, that's been on my mind here. There's so much happening in Europe right now. A financial cascading collapse appears to be imminent. We've got the Greece situation. We've got Spain. on money fleeing Spain. Some bank runs have already been reported there. A lot of concern about Spain. We've got the Tokyo market just crashed on Friday to a 28-year low. There's new talk about the new retirement age for many people in many countries around the world is going to have to be set at 80 years old. So you can't retire until you're 80 if you even live that long, which is highly unlikely if you're injected with the cancer-causing vaccines and drinking the fluoride in the public water supply. Your thoughts, Jim Mars?
Well, that's pretty much it. They're working their global agenda, but there's so many aspects to this. For example, everybody kind of knows about the Federal Reserve System and how it's neither federal nor does it have any reserves, and it's simply a collection of banks that are owned by other banks, which are then owned by private individuals, many of whom are not even American citizens. And these are the folks who are looting us and looting the public treasury. Let's not forget the $15 trillion that Ben Bernanke sent overseas to prop up foreign banks.
Right.
Now, when people are struggling to make a living, struggling to keep their families afloat, buy groceries, and then you tell them that their tax money is going to prop up foreign banks, that should get people upset. But they don't really hear it because they listen to TV. Okay? But they've got all kinds of things going on. The Financial Stability Board, are you familiar with that? This is something that Barack Obama signed us up to in 2009, on April the 2nd, 2009, at the G20 meeting in London. He signed us up for the Financial Stability Board, which is, it used to be called the Financial Stability Forum, which was a division, a part of the Bank for International Settlements, which, if you've read my book, The Rise of the Fourth Reich, you realize was an old Nazi-controlled bank before, during, and after the war.
Right.
And they had the Financial Stability Forum, which was basically just a good old boys meeting of the international bankers trying to keep things stabilized and everything in their favor. Well, now they've changed the name to the Financial Stability Board, and we have signed up for this. And according to their own, it's a policy-making board, and they can set standards, policies, regulations, and pass them on to their respective nations. And the idea is to standardize the financial system in the world.
Right, right. Global bank.
Over our own financial system anymore. It's in the hands of a board made up of foreigners that came out of a Nazi-controlled bank.
Yeah, but look where it's going, Jim. And Darren McBreen here at the Infowars studios has been doing some research and reports on this. It's all about going to a cashless society. It's all about the chip implants, the electronic, centrally, globally controlled money system where everything you buy is tracked. Every financial transaction is spied on by the government just by default, immediately. You have no financial privacy. You can't even carry cash without being considered a criminal, and that has already begun in some ways.
It's in embryonic stages, but it has already begun. But now, here's the whole thing, Mike. How are you going to get people in the world, particularly like in North America and the United States, where we had a pretty stable and widely accepted dollar, how do you get them to go to such a system? You have to destroy the dollar.
Exactly.
And they're doing it quite well.
Yeah, but let's talk about that. The dollar right now is looking good, but only relative to the collapse in Europe. So a lot of money is fleeing Europe into the dollar, making the dollar look good. Your comments, go ahead.
Yeah, that's like saying my dilapidated, run-down old house looks pretty good compared to the one next door, which is burning down.
It's on fire. Yeah, right. Everybody run to the shack.
Right. Yeah, get to the shack. It's a good place now.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's exactly what's going on. Also, the other important point here is that all of these so-called defenders, people who work for the government, the TSA workers, the police, the FBI, all of these people who work for the government, they are dependent on government pensions for their retirements.
That's right.
Now, we're headed into a break here shortly, but I want your thoughts, Jim. What's going to happen when these pensions disappear?
Well, here's the big problem is that, and this happened years ago, this happened back in the 70s because I saw the stories before I left the newspaper I was working for at the time, and that is that they crossed the threshold, the 50% mark, where now more than 50%, now it's way on up there, of the population of the United States, a big, healthy majority of the population is now deriving its sole income from the government, okay? And when you have that kind of situation, then you have the very situation that de Tocqueville wrote about when he came over and saw the fledgling United States just beginning in back in 1700, went back and wrote and said that, you know, democracy sounds good, but it'll never last, because as soon as people realize they can vote themselves largesse from the public treasury, they're just going to vote for whoever promises them the most.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that's kind of where we are today.
I think we've crossed that threshold already, Jim.
A long time ago, yeah.
We got to go to a break here, so hold on just a second. But when we come back from this break, I want to ask Jim Marrs about the zombie apocalypse that has been happening across America, his comments on that and much more when we return here on The Alex Jones Show. Stay with us.
For more than 6 years, I've talked on the air about creating a social network. PlanetInfowars.com is in its beta phase. We're just launching it, and I want to invite all of you out there to be in on the ground level. Planet Infowars is about people coming together, forming activist organizations, getting involved politically, hunting and fishing, gardening, dating. This is a place for people who love freedom to meet and to talk and to write and to post information. And I give you this pledge. We are not going to spy on you and sell your data to the New World Order. PlanetInfowars.com is free, so people who love freedom can get together, connect with people who are awake and know what we're facing. Be active, organize, take action, go viral, create, contribute, resist, because resistance is victory. You are victory. It's waiting for you to breathe power into it. PlanetInfowars.com.
I hope you realize the power that you have as an individual out there, and I hope you're not just listening to this show as a source of entertainment. I hope it's a source of inspiration that strikes a thread in your own heart and your own mind to take action right now to help us survive what's coming. You know, the quote from Alex that he said earlier, he says, quote, "We're not heroes, we're just trying to survive." And that's why he hates to be called a hero for anything that he's doing out there, even though people see, you know, you have a lot of courage, you're very aggressive out there fighting for freedoms and so on, but he doesn't want to be seen in that way. He says we're just trying to survive, and he wants you to join the fight in working to survive. And of course, one of the authors who has been working in the same parallel effort for a couple of decades, several decades in fact, is Jim Marrs, and he continues with us by phone here on The Alex Jones Show. So Jim, before the break, we talked about the zombie apocalypse. We've got literal zombies rising up across America now. Several reports, including the face-eating zombie in Miami, which I guess is not a laughing matter. Breaking news this morning, the one cannibal, which we're calling zombies, was captured in Berlin as of this morning. That was reported on the Drudge Report. So what are your thoughts, Jim? What's going on?
Right before we get to the zombies, let me toss in one coda here on what we were talking about before the break about how that there are now more people making their living from the government than paying into it. You know, one thing, just one simple change of law could really make a huge effect here, and that is that anyone who is deriving more than 50% of their income from the government should not be allowed to vote. Okay, because it's a conflict of interest.
Sure.
Only those who are paying into the government get to vote, because otherwise the whole thing's lopsided and it doesn't work.
Well, unfortunately, we've crossed the
right
50% threshold, though, Jim. So now more than half the country is on the dole, and that's never going to happen. I agree with your assessment, but it's never going to happen.
And now they vote, and they're not going to vote for somebody who would try to take their vote away. So I know it's a catch-22. But you can see how ridiculous the whole thing is.
Yeah.
And that's leading kind of to what we're talking about here about the zombies. First, let me tell you where the zombie thing came from, or at least from my book, The $1 Trillion Conspiracy, which I was forced to change the title by the publisher. My original title was Zombie Nation.
Yeah, I like that title better.
Everyone does. And, in fact, I'm convinced that the only reason they made me change it was to diminish the sales. They really don't want it out.
You need to get a new publisher, man.
In fact, sure enough, they stuck it over on the financial bookshelves in the bookstores, you know, where only a few of the number crunchers go to actually get those books, and investment people. But anyway, The thing is, that started with what they call the zombie banks. Now, a zombie bank is a bank that is broke. Okay, it's dead, but it's still going through the motions. It's still in business because of the TARP money, you know, public money that's been, tax money that's been thrown at it to prop it back up. So it's dead, but it's going through the motions. So they call those zombie banks. Well, the reason I call it zombie nation is because, depending on who you want to listen to, this nation now owes somewhere 15 trillion, 20 trillion plus trillions of dollars, which is an unimaginable number. And yet it's also been estimated that if for every man, woman, and child in the country sold off everything they've got, their clothes, their TV, their car, their house, everything, we couldn't come up collectively with maybe but about $9 or $10 trillion. So in other words, we're broke. We're a dead nation.
Yeah.
We're just still going through the motion.
Zombie Nation, hey,
zombie nation.
We got to go to break again. Real quick, short break here, folks. We'll be back in just a little over a minute. And stay with us here on The Alex Jones Show. Jim Marrs is coming back with more talk about Zombie Nation, zombie banks, but also the rise of the zombie apocalypse and actual physical zombies now eating other people. Stay with us. We'll be back with a lot more on The Alex Jones Show. We're already into the third hour of the show today. The time is flying today. We heard from Alex, Aaron, and Rob Jacobson from the road earlier in the first hour. And the second hour, lots of breaking information. Check Infowars.com for more news that's breaking it seems like every hour, from Kurt Nimmo, Paul Joseph Watson, and others. We continue now with our conversation with Jim Marrs, author and investigative researcher. We're talking about zombie banks, and now we're going to get into human zombies, or degenerative human zombies, because there seems to be this rise of the zombie apocalypse in America that I don't know what's behind it, but there are several cases now of people losing their minds and then feasting on other humans. And the CDC has even warned us about a zombie apocalypse, and they're gonna have a handle on it. This is true. I'm not making this up. It's an official page on the CDC's website, U.S. government's website, warning us about a zombie apocalypse. So, Jim Marrs, continuing, what are your thoughts on the human zombie situation that we're seeing?
Well, I went and looked at the CDC website, and sure enough, they got a whole thing there on zombie apocalypse. But it was tongue-in-cheek, and it was done, I think, to bring people in to learn how to store food, water, and how to prepare themselves for some sort of disaster. So that was just their little PR move.
Yeah.
It is interesting, though. And what it brings to me, Mike, is the question, the age-old question of does art imitate life or life imitate art? You know, I mean, I'm pushing it on up there. I've lived quite a number of years now, and I don't recall stories of zombie attacks or cannibalistic attacks, crazy people running around this country until after the zombie metaphor became pretty standard in science fiction, horror movies, and novels, and TV, and everything else. So it really does make you wonder, you know, or are we actually thinking in terms of zombies because somehow at a subconscious level we realize that we kind of are zombies. We're just getting up, going to work, come home, watch TV, go to bed, get up, go to work, come home, watch TV. You know, have we kind of been turned into zombies, and we kind of subconsciously realize that? Does that explain our fascination with zombies?
Clearly. Well, those are people that I call functional zombies, Jim. They're functional zombies. They can still go to work and punch a clock. They can still, you know, watch the news. They can still line up and get their vaccine shot and so on. But, yeah, they're zombies. They're sleepwalking through life. And I got to think that some of this has to be just the incredible cumulative burden of all the chemicals from the vaccines, from the fluoride, the aspartame, the food additives, over-the-counter medications, pesticides, all of that. And then some people just cross that threshold, and sometimes perhaps a street drug causes them to do that. They blame this latest person on so-called bath salts, which is just a sort of a street name for a designer drug. But
you know what got me was early on they were trying to say that bath salts was some sort of LSD. It's not. You know, I don't know what bath salts is supposed to be.
I don't know either. It's some kind of designer synthetically created molecule that, but some people thought they were actually bath salts, and they are now afraid to buy bath salts and put them in their bath because they think they're going to turn into zombies. That's not the case, folks.
No, bath salts are okay. Just don't sniff them.
Yeah. Don't melt them down and inject them into your veins. That's probably a pretty good principle for anything.
Yeah, for anything. Yeah.
Including vaccines, yeah. Yeah, think about it. If you injected peanut butter into your veins, you might go crazy too. So what are they going to do, declare war on peanut butter next? Who knows?
See, this is pretty typical, though, of our society's reaction. We all try to blame a drug. We try to blame guns. We try to blame any kind of, non-organic thing or drugs or whatever.
I know. 20 seconds, Jim.
Do what?
We're running out of time, man. I got to thank you.
We seldom think about what are the causes for all this.
Yeah, well said. Jim Marrs, thanks for joining us today. It's been great having you on, everybody. Check out his book, $1 Trillion Conspiracy. Jim Marrs is the author. Stay with us.
Ask yourselves, what are you doing in this time of great challenge? What are you doing to unlock minds?